Hey everybody, welcome to My Usual Me. This is my Baldur's Gate 3 multi-classing guide for the origin character Lae'zel, or any other fighter that you might want to play. Now, Lae'zel is a Yankee fighter who you meet on the Nautiloid ship at the very beginning of the game. Now, you get a chance to fight with her, but you're going to have to wait a bit before you can recruit her, as she is the third or fourth member of your party that you meet once you start exploring the map. Now, fighters such as Lae'zel will get in their first subclass at level 3, which is fortunate because depending on how much you explore the map, you should be around level 2 or level 3. So when you do get her, you're going to be able to level her right up and be able to choose your first subclass. So at the time of launch, we're going to have 3 separate subclasses we can choose with fighter. We have Champion, we have Battlemaster, and we have Eldritch Knight. Now, no matter what you choose, I highly recommend that you get your fighter up to at least level 4, 5, or 6 before you spec into another class. And the reason for that is we want to be able to be harder to hit, and we want to be able to do more damage no matter what. And Lae'zel, unfortunately, has a strength of 17 and a dexterity of 13, which is not bad. But what happens here is because she's given the half plate to begin with, which is the best medium armor that you can get, it only gives her a dexterity bonus of 1, and we can have a maximum of 2. So what we're going to want to do is we want to raise our dexterity up by 1 so we can get that maximum of 2, so we can have an armor class of 17, which makes us harder to hit. And then since we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick the additional bonus in dexterity, we may as well go and raise our strength by 1 and raise it up to 18, which will give us an extra point of damage every time we hit as well. So instead of a 1d8 plus 3 or 1d10 plus 3, depending on whether we use one hand or two hand with our weapon, we're going to be doing 1d10 plus 4 or 1d8 plus 4. Hopefully that makes sense. So with the champion fighter at level 4, we're going to get our ability score improvement, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to raise the dexterity up by 1 and the strength up by 1, just like I said. Now, at this point, you could spec into barbarian, which is what we're going to do eventually. But I would go ahead and go with level 5 in fighter anyway, because that gives you an extra attack. And what that'll do now is that you can attack twice per turn, guaranteed, or once per fight, you can take an action surge and you can attack a third time. Now you can only do this once per short rest, so you can only do that one time during a fight. But every time you take a short rest, you get your action surge back. So that's basically 3 attacks in a fight once and then twice every turn after that. And don't forget, every time you get a 19 or a 20, you're going to get a critical hit, which is going to double your damage dice. So already we have a pretty solid fighter to play with. Now, in most classes, you're going to get your next ASI or your next ability score improvement at level 8. However, with a fighter, you get it at level 6, which is really nice. At this point, what I would do is I would probably take a feat, and I would probably take Great Weapon Master. So a Great Weapon Master, you've learned to put the weight of the weapon to your advantage, letting the momentum empower your strikes, and you gain the following benefits. On your turn, when you score a critical hit, and remember, we're already basing our whole strategy around improved critical. When you score a critical hit with a melee weapon or you reduce a creature to 0 hit points, you can make another melee weapon attack with a bonus action, which all of a sudden, that gives you 3 attacks in a turn if you get a critical hit or you bring a creature down to 0 hit points. And also, before you make a melee weapon attack with a heavy weapon that you're proficient with, you can choose, which means like a two-handed weapon. So you want a greatsword or a great axe. You can choose to take a -5 penalty to the attack roll, and if the attack hits, you get plus 10 to the attack damage. It's really, really big. This is a really, really good feat for a fighter or for a barbarian. I highly suggest it. Take it as early as you can. That's my tip for you for a level 6 for your fighter. And then at this point, we can go ahead and we can take our next level in barbarian. Now at this point, we're at level 7, and we take our first level in Barbarian. We get our Rage and Unarmored Defense. But Unarmored Defense doesn't do us any good because we do have armor on, but we actually have a higher armor class than you would get with Unarmored Defense with this build. So because that deals with your dexterity modifier and your constitution modifier, it's not high enough with Lae'zel to even worry about. So and since we're not going to be able to unspec our fighter to just take barbarian, we're going to go ahead and all we can deal with is our rage. So unarmored defense does us no good, so don't even worry about it. So with rage, you get advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. When you make a melee weapon attack using strength, you get a bonus to the damage roll, and it increases as you gain levels in Barbarian. So right now at level 1, I think it's a +2 to your damage. So we get more damage now, and we have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Now, rage lasts for 10 rounds, so we're good to go for the entire fight. I don't see a fight lasting more than 10 rounds. If it does, you're probably in trouble, and you probably need to get out of there. Now, at level 2 Barbarian and 6 Champion Fighter, we actually get our Reckless Attack. A Reckless Attack allows you to, if you attack recklessly, it gives you advantage on melee weapon attack rolls using strength. So that means that this sword or this axe that you're wielding allows you to get advantage on your attack rolls, which means you're rolling twice to attack. So it's twice as many times you have a chance to be able to get your improved critical. But then the downside of this Reckless Attack is that your enemies have advantage until your next turn when they attack you. So be aware that your enemies will have advantage against you until your next turn, but you have double the chance of getting a critical and doing double the damage. So Reckless Attack is amazing. And then you also have Danger Sense at level 2, which gives you advantage on dexterity saving throws against effects you can see, such as traps or spells, which means if they throw a fireball at you and you got to roll a dex check to see if you take half damage, you get advantage on that dexterity saving throw. You also can't be blinded, deafened, or incapacitated with the Danger Sense. So, and that doesn't have anything to do with your rage, I don't believe. I think that's just a thing that happens. I don't think you have to be raging to have Danger Sense. I think it's an automatic thing that you get as level 2 Barbarian is what I mean. Now at level 3, we're going to take our Primal Path, and we're going to take Path of the Berserker, which will give us our Frenzied Rage. And when we go into a frenzy when we rage, we can make a single melee weapon attack as a bonus action on each of our turns. So with that gives us an extra melee attack every single bonus action on every single turn that we get. Now that's pretty much the same as our Great Weapon Master, but Great Weapon Master only works when you get a critical hit or you reduce a creature to 0 hit points. This happens each and every bonus action that we want. So Frenzy is basically that, but better. So now if you wanted to, you could spec out of Great Weapon Master, but I wouldn't suggest doing that. I would keep it if I were you. Now at this point, this is pretty much how when the build comes together. And right now you're only level 9. You have 3 more levels to go before the end of the game. And at this point, I would probably take next level in Barbarian so you can get your next ability score improvement. And then what I would do is I would take another feat, and I would probably take Tough, or I would take Mobile. Now, if you take Mobile, this allows you to increase your speed by 10 feet, and then you can use the dash action under difficult terrain, but it doesn't cost you any extra movement on that turn. Also, when you take a melee attack against a creature, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from the creature for the rest of the turn, whether you hit or not. So what you can do is you can run in, hit as many times as you can hit, and run away, and they won't attack you when you run away. Normally, they can get an opportunity attack when you run away. When you have Mobile, it doesn't happen. It's a really, really good hit and run tactic to use. Now, if you don't want to use Mobile, if you just want more hit points and you just want to stand there and fight, then I would suggest taking either Tough, or I would go ahead and I would take ability score improvement of Constitution twice, then raise your Constitution up. I would do either of those 2 things. But you still have, don't forget, another ASI coming with your fighter, because you have a couple more levels yet before you're going to be at the end of the game. So for me, I would take Mobile because, and I don't know if this is going to be in the game or not, but at level 7 Champion Fighter, you get another ability, which is a Remarkable Athlete. I'm thinking they probably will put this in the game, so I would probably take Mobile, because starting at level 7 in Fighter, you can add half your proficiency bonus rounded up to any strength, dexterity, or constitution check that doesn't already use your proficiency bonus. And in addition, when you make a running long jump, the distance you can cover increases by the number of feet equal to your strength modifier. So Mobile and Remarkable Athlete are going to go together, and that's going to tie this whole build together even more. And then, of course, the last level, when you're fighting all the big bosses, you go level 8, and that's going to give you another ability score improvement, which is when I would probably go in and I would take the Constitution score improvement, which at this point, right now it says maximum hit points is 116. But if you have any magic items which are going to increase your ability scores, you can change these around, and I would try to get as many hit points as you can get. I really would, because I mean, if you're going toe to toe with the bosses, it's going to be a tough fight. You want as many hit points as you can get your hands on. Obviously, you want 4 levels in Barbarian, because it's going to be 1d12 per level versus the 1d10 that you get for your fighter. But yeah, so this is the build. It's 8 levels in Champion Fighter, 4 levels in Barbarian. I would take Great Weapon Master. I would take Mobile. I would take Tough. Now, her Constitution is only 14. Obviously, if you have something that you can raise your Constitution, some sort of magic item, that's definitely the way to go. As far as your strength goes, I mean, you could go ahead and if you found, say, Belt of Dwarvenkind or Gauntlets of Ogre Strength, or with the Dexterity, if you get the Gloves of Dexterity, which I know are in the game, you can go ahead and you can bypass that ASI that we did at the beginning. We can respec out of that, and we can actually go into Constitution, which will raise our hit points. I highly suggest you try that out, because that would be the way to go. You definitely want as many hit points as you can get. But Champion Fighter 8, Path of Berserker Barbarian 4, that's my build for the Champion. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully it pans out for you. Now with Battlemaster Fighter, it gets a little trickier, because we're going to have what we call maneuvers, and I upped this to level 12 just so you can see what's available in Baldur's Gate 3. We have Menacing Attack, we have Pushing Attack, we have Rally, we have Riposte, we have Trip Attack, and that Trip Attack is either melee or ranged in the game, and we have Disarming Attack. So you can read those. You can go ahead and go back in the video and read what they do. So you're going to have a certain number of those that they're going to allow you to choose from whenever you get to level 3. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go down to level 3 here. So I think it looks like you're allowed 3 of these maneuvers at level 3. You're going to play around with those. You're going to see what you like, what you don't like. You can go and respec and figure out what you're going to do. But this is all about battlefield control, is what this is. So what you're going to do is, like I said, you're going to want to go to level 5 so you can get your extra attack, and you're going to want to improve your ability scores of strength and dexterity, because whichever one is higher, that's going to affect your ability to use the maneuvers when they have to make a saving throw. Because where is it? Combat superiority. Some of these maneuvers require your target to make a saving throw to resist the maneuver's effects, and it equals 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your strength or dexterity modifier, your choice. But I think the game is just going to do whichever one's higher. So that's something to think about with your maneuvers and your stats. Obviously, any magic items that you have that can raise your strength or your dexterity are going to help you with this. But the basic build here is we're going to go all the way to 8 with Battlemaster. Maybe not necessarily in that order. We don't have to go all the way to 8 before we spec into something else. And I don't even know at level 7 if they're going to have Know Your Enemy. Know Your Enemy allows you to look at an enemy for a minute, and then you're able to tell characteristics, their strength, their dexterity, their constitution, their armor class, their hit points. It might just pop up at level 7 when you look at an enemy. It might just tell you. I don't know. We don't know yet, because until a full release, we don't have this information. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But with your ability score improvements, I would definitely go with feet. I would go with Mobile. So you can dip in and out of combat without having opportunity attacks. So I'd go with Mobile. Or possibly Alert. Alert is really, really good for this build, because you can get a +5 bonus to your initiative, and you can't be surprised at all. And other creatures don't get advantage on attack rolls against you when they're unseen by you. So Alert is super good for this build, because we're going to go and we're going to spec into Thief. We're going to go Rogue Thief with this build. And the reason that we want Rogue Thief, we're going to go 4 levels in that, is what we're going to do is you're going to have expertise, and that's going to double your proficiency bonus on 2 of your abilities that you're proficient in, which is really nice. We also have Cunning Action, which allows us to take the dash, disengage, or hide action. Now, you don't need to worry about disengage if you have Mobile. because you're going to be able to run out without opportunity attacks, but you're going to be able to dash, which is going to be able to double your movement speed as a bonus action, or you're going to be able to hide as a bonus action. And also, I don't want to overstate the sneak attack damage as well. With 4 levels in Rogue, you're going to be able to get 2d6 sneak attack damage plus your weapon damage, and then if you go and you use a maneuver on top of that, say a trip attack, you can go ahead and you can hit a creature with a weapon attack and expend one of your superiority die to attempt to knock the target down. If they don't save against it and you're able to knock them down, then they go prone and you have advantage on the next melee attack. So you can move in and you can attack them with your second attack, your extra attack from being a fighter level 5. And so you can get 2 hits in, you can do a severe amount of damage in the very first round. Then if you have mobile, you can turn around and you can get out of there or disengage. However it works. If you don't have mobile, you can use your cunning action to disengage, and you can get out of there without provoking an opportunity attack. And in the first round, you have a really good chance of doing some severe damage to your enemy. And also with the Rogue Thief, we're going to have fast hands and second story work. Now that's really, really good because fast hands allows you to have an additional bonus action. In Baldur's Gate, taking a potion with a bonus action is a thing versus it being an action in D&D 5e. So if you need a health potion, you got to take it. And then also with second story work, you gain the ability to climb faster than normal. Climbing no longer costs you extra movement, which is really huge. And also, when you make a running jump, the distance you cover increases by a number of feet equal to your dexterity modifier. And then, of course, with your ability score improvement, you could go with Martial Adept if you wanted to, which would give you some more superiority die. Give you 2 more superiority die. And so you're going to have 2 more of these superiority die that you're going to be able to use to help control the battlefield as well. Now, the third and final subclass is going to be Eldritch Knight. Now, this is the tricky one for Lae'zel because she's a fighter by trade. Her intelligence is 11. Normally in D&D 5e, you would have to have an intelligence of 13 to spec into Wizard. But, I mean, this subclass is what it is. It's an Eldritch Knight. You're going to cast spells, but you're not going to be able to cast spells very well with an intelligence of 11. So what I would suggest you do is go to the Blighted Village, which is in the very first act in the game, and get the Warped Headband of Intellect. When you find the Blighted Village, it's filled with all of the goblins that are going to ambush you. There are 3 ogres that are together in one of the buildings, and the Warped Headband of Intellect is owned by the ogre mage Lump the Enlightened. You're going to either have to kill him to get it, or you're going to have to convince him to work for you, and you'll have to pay him or whatever. Spoilers. And then have something else kill him. But once he dies, he is using the Warped Headband of Intellect to make him a lot smarter than a normal ogre would be. So that's where you get that magic item. So find the Blighted Village, get Lump, get rid of Lump, use that to up Lae'zel or any of your other characters' intellect to level 7 to 17. Now it shows it here, but this is not the true. This is not the one in the game. This one here in the wiki of D&D Beyond shows that you get an intelligence score of 19. You don't. You get an intelligence score of 17 because it's the Warped Headband of Intellect. But you can up her. You can up her ability to an intelligence of 17 with that magic item, but Larian's going to allow you to spec into it no matter what because they're just allowing us to do that. But we can go ahead and we can spec into Wizard, and I suggest you go with 5 levels of Wizard and 7 levels of Eldritch Knight. And the reason for that is because with Eldritch Knight, you're basically a half caster, so you won't get level 3 spells even with 7 levels of Eldritch Knight. Unless they change it and they change the spell progression. If they do, then you might get level 3 spells. But you want level 3 spells because you want Fireball. You really do. I say you want Fireball, and with you need level 5 in Wizard to be able to get Fireball. You need to get level 3 spells. Otherwise, you're only dealing with level 2 spells with Eldritch Knight. Not that great. Not that amazing. But if you do 7 levels in Eldritch Knight, By the way, I don't think Weapon Bond is in the game, so ignore that. But War Magic is cool at level 7 because you can, when you cast your cantrip, you can make a weapon attack as a bonus action, which is nice. Now, as far as your class features as a wizard, I would suggest if you're going to go Arcane Tradition, we're going to go with either Abjuration, which is going to give you an Arcane Ward, which is basically a force field, and it has a hit point a maximum of equal to twice your wizard level plus your intelligence modifier. So with the Headband of Intellect, that's going to mean that you're going to be, since you're level 5 in wizard, you're going to get 10 plus 3, so you get 13 points of protection with your arcane ward. So you basically have an additional 13 points hit points, basically. And that arcane ward will recharge every time that you use an abjuration spell, say like shield or mage armor or something like that. Although you probably won't be using mage armor because Lae'zel has she has a medium armor, so you probably won't be using that very often. But every time you use like shield, that'll start to recharge your arcane ward, so that will continue to or actually anytime you use a long rest, your arcane ward will come right back. Or as a secondary option, I would suggest becoming a divination wizard. Go School of Divination and getting Portent, which it works a little differently than what we read here. It says you can replace any attack roll, saving throw, or ability check made by you or a creature that you can see with one of these foretelling rolls. You get 2 D20s, and normally you roll them, and those numbers you can actually use to change a roll for yourself or another creature that you can see. So if they hit you and you roll the 20 and it's like a 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, you can use that number to make them use that number. But how it works in the game is actually it's the very next attack roll, saving throw, or ability check made by you, and you actually replace it with that roll. So basically, it's a re-roll twice, is what this is. Divination's pretty good. I would suggest using that, or like I said, Abjuration. Either way, but you know what? Play around with it. Use something that you like. If you find something else that you like, by all means. This is one of those tricky ones where you're gonna have to play around with it and respec and decide what you like. This is definitely not the ideal subclass for Lae'zel, but you know what? If you like slinging spells and you want an all spell casting crew, you know what? Use Eldritch Knight and play around with it. And as far as feats go with this build, I would go with Tough. 100% I would go with Tough because you're going to definitely want as many hit points as you can. She's a wizard. She's going to be a wizard fighter, and so Tough is the way to go so you can get extra hit points. I would go ahead and I would go with probably a Warcaster. You're definitely going to want Warcaster because Warcaster allows you to have advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain your concentration whenever you take damage. You can perform the somatic components of the spell even when you have a weapons or shield in one or both hands. So what you're going to be able to do is, you can already use a shield with Lae'zel, so that's not that big a deal. But when a hostile creature movement provokes an opportunity attack from you, you can use your reaction to cast a spell rather than making an opportunity attack. So you can use your spells instead of using your weapon if you want to. If you have something that will do more damage with a spell that you've picked, by all means, I would use Warcaster. And also for your other ability score improvement, I would either go with Elemental Adept, or I would go with Elemental Adept, say Fire, if you got Fireball. Anybody who has resistance to fire damage, it ignores it. So if something has resistance to fire damage, it ignores it completely. So whenever you roll the damage for the spell cast at that level, any roll of 1, you treat that as a 2. Which is not that big a deal. But the ignoring resistance to fire damage, fire is probably your best bet if you're going to do Elemental Adept. Or a really good one is going to be Spell Sniper. If you cast a spell that requires you to make an attack roll, the spell range is doubled. Okay, so you can be like way off in the back of the bus, and cast a spell and you got double the range. Also, your ranged spell attacks ignore 1/2 and 3/4 cover, and you also get an extra cantrip as well. So from any spell list. So you know what? Guidance is a great one. If I were you, if you take Spell Sniper, I would take Guidance as your cantrip, because you're not going to get Guidance as a wizard. Alrighty, guys. Well, those are my choices for Lae'zel and her subclasses, and what I would do if I were going to multiclass into anything else for those three subclasses. Obviously, the choices are almost unlimited in this game, and really, it all kind of boils down to whatever you want to do to have fun. So anyway, guys, thanks for coming in. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope I helped you out. If it did, give us a thumbs up, and if I've earned your subscription, don't forget to hit that bell icon for notifications. As I always say, I am my usual me, you be your usual you, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.